Hi.
Hi. Okay, almost done. Excuse me, we're gonna start real soon.
Yeah.
We've got Morning CH Tan, we've got Larry Ong, we've got Roy, we got WWW. I don't know who is this WWW.
Right.
Yeah, and we've got a few more viewers as well on YouTube, which we can't see right here. But to those on YouTube, hello.
Hi.
And yep. Okay, let's get started. All right, hold on. Okay, so hello everyone. Very good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday Talk Live by Place Borneo. If you have been with us, we are currently on our 16th episode. So welcome back to those who have stayed with us for all 15 episodes before this. If you notice, we actually skipped 2 weeks because we were quite busy, so we couldn't cope with it. So we missed one episode, but now we're back on track. And for those new one, welcome to Tuesday Talk Live. It is a platform for us to share ideas, information, and most of all, solutions to some of the new challenges that we're finding ourselves in. Especially in these times, it's actually a very different time that we're in. Not many of us has actually gone through a pandemic, an epidemic, and this is a pandemic going through the whole wide world. So this is something new, and we're experiencing job losses to some of us, or your business is really affected, your family members are affected in terms of health, or you're separated from your family members. So these are new things that some of us are just experiencing. So how do we cope with that? And that's why today the topic is mental health in chaotic times. Now, chaos or challenging times. What is this? How do you define this? So I did a bit of googling, and most of them that came up with was uncertainty. So there's a lot of uncertainties during this time. So in terms of your health, like I said, in terms of your income, in terms of just putting food on the table for your children, for your family. So in general, it's just uncertainty about your survival, whether in a small way or in a big way. So how do you actually handle that? And even if you're not affected personally, or your family is okay, doing okay, you're hearing all these bad news in the news, on the internet, on Facebook, from your friends, on WhatsApp. So how do you deal with that? Sometimes just a lot of bad news can actually just dampen our mood. So today we're going to talk about the inner landscape. That's the landscape in our minds. When our outer landscape, the world out there, seems to be crumbling before us. So maybe crumbling is a bit too a dramatic word, but in a lighter sense, it's kind of like you're not so sure at what's happening out there. So how do you keep yourself sane? How do you keep this inner space sane? So that's why today we have a few very knowledgeable speakers with us, and we're gonna pick their brains on mental health and what they've got a lot of experience, they've got a lot of knowledge on this. And the first one, we've got Dr. Haji Ismail bin Rahman. He is the president of Mental Health Association of Sarawak. He is a retired psychiatrist and currently working contractual with the health department, and has served at several government hospitals throughout Malaysia, and also nearby here in the Sarawak General Hospital and Hospital Sentosa Kuching. But right now, he wants to return to his passion, which is giving geriatric consultancy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but geriatric
Yeah.
is on for the older generations.
Older
Older,
group.
yep, okay, like it's gerontology and geriatrics, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and also to serve the association. So welcome to the show, Dr. Ismail.
Thank
And
you.
yep, and the next speaker we have the bubbly Kelly Lee, the
Hi.
founder of Befrienders Coaching, and also a
Yes.
licensed counselor at New Health Coaching.
Mm.
She used to be a career counselor for not-for-profit organizations and higher education, and right now she coaches youths in Kuching, young people. So that's the opposite of geriatrics, and is an advocate for suicide prevention, and that's the reason why she started the Befrienders. It's a crisis hotline. It's called Befrienders Kuching. So welcome to the show, Kelly. And
Thank you for
today we're
having
going to
me.
talk to both of you about mental health. So as usual, we're going to start with a few minutes of individual session with the speakers. You're just going to, give a summary or say something about what you're going to talk about today or anything about yourself. And then we'll go right on to the discussion. So to the attendees, to the viewers, can just type your questions now on Zoom. You have the Q&A option at the bottom. And on YouTube, just type your question on the chat box and we'll be able to pick it up from there. And once we go into the discussion part of today's webinar, we'll pick your questions, and then as we go along, we'll just see which one we want to answer. Okay, so we're going to start with Dr. Ismail. Doctor, go ahead.
Yeah, very good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, actually I'm already retired the last 2 years, but I was called back to serve the Ministry of Health. And at present, I'm the president of Mental Health Association. As you know, that Mental Association had been in Sarawak. Mental Association of Sarawak had been here for a very long time. It's almost 30 over years already. So we are trying to make our public aware that we are around. And we have 3 branches in Sarawak, that is in Kuching, Sibu, and as well as Miri. So at the moment, we are still trying to advocate a lot about mental health to the public, because I think we need to have that. As you know, a lot of things that happen nowadays is not only the recent disasters, but there are many, many more that I think we have to face in our life. So I'm still serving Ministry of Health for the next 1 more years to go. And at the same time, I do a visiting practice in one of the private hospital in Kuching. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so you do have a private practice as well.
Yeah.
So what? Oh, but then we don't qualify, right? Is it for geriatrics or just?
Well, there are a lot of people nowadays. You know that if we look into the proportions of our population now, especially if we have a latest census, the last census that we have, the populations of our older person, which is 60 and above in the country, is almost 12%.
Oh.
And probably the latest figure will be more than that. And it was projected by the year 2030, we are reaching about 15% of our population. And once we reach that level, then our country will be considered as aged nations.
Oh.
We need to have a lot of this sort of service, especially for the elderly. And psychiatric or mental health issues among the elderly is very, very rampant. And it is almost, I should say, about 50% of our elderly, because they have a lot of chronic illnesses that they are facing with, and a lot of changes in their life that they have to go through, adjust themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. And also, I guess I sort of relate because my own parents or my own family members who are old, and friends who say that, the older people in the family tend to be, they would say, emotional. So usually you see that they get a bit more emotional as they age, and there are things that they would say or do, that doesn't seem to be quite themselves. But that's very interesting. We'll go into that a bit more later. Now, Kelly, why don't you do your personal one now?
Okay, so I'm actually not from Kuching. I originate from Selangor, but I got married to a Sarawakian, so I moved to Kuching. So initially when I came to Kuching, I'm already a licensed counselor, and I started off in Sagi College Sarawak as a counselor there. So when I was counseling the youths in Kuching, I realized that they have a lot of mental health issues that they don't really feel comfortable even expressing to their counselors in school, which is me. So that's why, back in Selangor or in West Malaysia, as counselors, we would actually suggest to students, why don't you call befrienders? It's quite a popular alternative, for them to express their grievances or their emotions. But the students here do not have that option. So who do they turn to? They have nowhere to go. They have uh, no like an outlet, to share or express their emotions. So that's why I decided to start this organization here. So befrienders have been established for more than 50 years in Malaysia, and we have 9 branches. So Kuching is the ninth one. All right. So I hope that it will expand to other smaller towns, across Sarawak, such as Miri, Sarike, Cebu, Muka, right? So I have, this kind of ideas. So I'm hoping that, there are some good Samaritans out there who would take on this, and reach out to the smaller groups in the respective towns. That said, I also run my own private practice. I realized that there are not many private licensed counselors here in Kuching. So it's a bit difficult, I feel, when people are looking, to seek help. I think a lot of times people want to find ways to help themselves. They do, and I think a lot of times they don't want to see the psychiatrist yet. So we're like the halfway center.
Halfway stop.
Yeah, the halfway stop, before you go all the way, because a lot of people who come to me, they ask me, oh, do I need medication? Like they're very concerned, like they're very concerned that, are they losing their minds? So yeah, they want to help themselves, really. But we need to create more alternatives, more opportunities for them, to get the help. And I feel that, MHA and Befrienders Coaching are some of the alternatives that they could look at, you know the different stops lah. They could go to before stopping at the psychiatric office. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Thanks,
true of
Kelly.
me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a really good way of putting it. It's, like some people don't want to go all the way, and some have friends that are sort of like their first stop. So they talk to their friends, but how much can your friend help you? And your friends may not be comfortable sometimes listening to a lot of your personal problems, or they wouldn't know how to handle it. So then a counselor would probably be the next stop, but it's not as scary as seeing a psychiatrist. But you would be surprised that in our local community here, it's sort of like a taboo, and some people don't believe in psychiatric treatment. So to them, especially in the local, Malays or local groups, they think of it as, you need to see the bomo, or you need to, berubat, they call it like that. And it's just disturbances, spiritual disturbances. And you just need to pray more often, and then you get better. I do believe that spiritual health is very important. But once you have a condition, you need to seek professional help. It's kind of like you have, I put this on my Facebook, you have a toothache. It's really painful, but you think, okay, I'm just going to pray, and then this thing is going to go off. When in fact, God has given you a dentist that you can go to and just treat your teeth. It's just a cavity that you just need to fill up, and then you're going to get better, right? So it's not a disturbance. It's not that, you need to go see Bomo and get your tooth fixed. So I feel that it's the same as mental health. It's just a physical, or more so a biological ailment that we need to address. But some people just, because you can't see it, you can't hold it, the teeth you can't really see. So I think those are things. I've got a lot of friends. I have some family members as well who has gone through this, and it's so sad to see that they don't believe in psychiatric treatment, and they just let it become worse and worse. And then at the end, it's the final. They lose hope, and then they go to a psychiatric treatment. But by then, it's so serious, and it's already a permanent effect on the person, and they never recover fully. So that's kind of sad. Okay, before we go head on, I've sort of deep dived into it before we actually did a bit of opening. So before we go, we dive into or unpeel a lot of the mental health issues that some people are facing. Let's go into what is mental health, and why is mental health important? Why do we need to even talk about it? Dr. Ismail, maybe we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mona. I think awareness about mental health is very, very important, especially for us nowadays. You know that communicable disease nowadays is very much less as compared to last time. And it is already being controlled. A lot of people, a lot of our public are suffering from chronic illness, where chronic illness is appear to be like physical problems. But on the other part of it, we have to look into the aspect of psychological or spiritual or so-called as mental health of that physical disorder. I think it is very important to merge these two together, and so that we can get a better kind of so-called as treatment, looking at, say, for example, like what Mona had mentioned just now, toothache, you have pain, isn't it? Pain, it can be considered as physical problem, and also it can cause a lot of stress, psychological pain that we have. The two components itself, the physical we can treat with, say, for example, painkiller, but the psychological aspect of it, how to treat it. Without good mental health, then we are going to face a lot of problems. So when we are talking about mental health, it is not a mental illness. So don't think that when we talk about mental health, most of us equate that to some crazy kind of problems or insane mind or whatever. I think it is a health that we should keep when we're talking, like, say, physical health as well as mental health. They're both together. We have to combine, we have to work, merge that together so that we can get a better kind of health in our life. So when you're talking about mental health, it is something, a state of person, which is someone who is functioning at a satisfactory level of emotional and behavioral adjustment. That means, you see, it is very easy to tell us if we are having some kind of physical disorder, fracture, say, for example. Everybody can see it. Or even, say, for example, if you have high blood pressure, we have a gadget to measure it, tools to measure the blood pressure. We know that the blood pressure is high. Or even people who say, I'm having diabetes or heart disease, there are tools to measure that. So how about if I ask you, how do I know that I have good mental health? Is there any gadget or is there any tools to measure that? And these are the things that we need to be aware of. I think it's a very simple thing that we need to know about it, because mental health involves emotion, involves psychological as well as social well-being of the person. So there are three things to remember only if you want to know whether your mental health is good. And if there is one is missing, I think we have to think about it and probably see Kelly lah. Okay, so first one, you have to feel better, feel you love yourself. You take care after yourself. You see, people who have poor mental health, they want to do harm to themselves. I think Kelly should know very well. If young people, they want to injure themselves, harm themselves, or do all kind of things. They're not happy with themselves. That is first indicator. If you feel satisfied with yourself, you're happy with yourself, you take care after yourself, that's one of the good things that you are doing well with. And secondly, because we are human being, we are interacting with our environment, be it a person or animals or whatever, we feel comfortable with people around us, with things around us. And if we feel happy with that, then it indicates we are good. If, say, for example, we're feeling that no people are going to do some kind of harm to us, always feeling jealous towards people, thinking that people might do something towards us, and many kind of things. So we are not happy with our neighbors, with our friends, with our so-called, then this is indicating that something is not right in us. So the thirdly, must be able to take up challenges. Not something that whatever come to us, today might be different, tomorrow might be other things, So we keep on saying that, oh, this is all challenges in my life. There are ways to come up or work to reduce it or to solve the problem. So with these three things, I think we can mention or say that, well, our mental health is good. If one of it is missing, then we have to consider seeing somebody.
Okay, I think that's really interesting, and talking about tools and gadget, and those three things are sort of like tools, not the physical tool, but sort of measurements that you can take to see whether you're slightly okay or slightly not okay. Kelly, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, doctor has covered a lot of bases. So let me just add on to that. I think on the personal level, normally, I would ask my clients, these three things about them, just to check whether, they are practicing good mental health hygiene, we call it. So the first one is, are they sleeping? That's number one. So how well are they sleeping, right? So that's sleep. So second is, are they eating, right? So how well they're eating, right? So what's the third one? So all the physical parts, okay. Of course, the third one is whether they're exercising, right? Of course, there are people with physical disabilities, so maybe they don't get to exercise, but maybe other kinds of activities, as long as they're doing something to move their body or try to have movement, like, move from one place to another, like go and see things and, not be at one spot the whole time, right? So normally I will check on these three things lah. So if let's say they're sleeping well, they're eating well, and they're still moving, right? Not incapacitated, not staying in one spot, right? Then generally they're still functional. Yeah.
Okay, so in fact, that was some of a few other questions that we wanted to cover. So how can you tell when someone is not so okay? So I think these are some of the signs that maybe if you see them not sleeping well or not eating well or eating too much, doesn't mean they're not eating. Sometimes they're just eating everything. Or if they don't love themselves, or they find everything wrong with themselves and trying to harm themselves, I think that's a very big sign, I would say. So that's a good way of finding signs in other people, in ourselves. Now, how do we even start talking to someone if we think that they're facing some problems, maybe at an early stage, so we don't want them to go into a more serious stage? How do we start a conversation with them, or how do you even ask them, are you okay, how are you feeling? Dr. Ismail, you want to handle this?
I think we always think that if I have problem, I should see psychiatrists or psychologists or counselors. But I think we suggest that, as a friend or as somebody who know you well, I think better to talk out whatever you have. I mean, talking about problems is also a problem, because nobody want to listen problems. You see, if you keep on telling problems to anybody outside or to your friend, I don't think your friend will want you to, because it's a burden to people who listen to them. Unless you are trained to listen to people, then it's easier. Things is that, as you can see, I mean, as analogy, say, for example, if you fill up a balloon with water, say, for example, keep on filling it, without throwing out the water from the balloon itself. At the end of the day, if it's too much already, it will burst. Similarly with us, if we keep on collecting all these kind of petty things, in our life, without throwing it out, we might not get the answer to the queries that we have. Because in life, it is not as simple as say 1 + 1 = 2. It is a complex kind of issues in our life. So I think in this kind of things, if you want to say, ask the person to get help, we should be able to understand not only the appearance of the person, what is internal kind of issues that they have, and we talk it over. Say, for example, if we know each other very well and we have a trust to each other, between each other, then probably we can suggest if we cannot get them out from whatever difficulties that they have, we can suggest it. We don't have to direct them to go to see somebody, but ask them to whether we can come along together and to somebody we can talk better, and probably not to solve the problem, but we can give some option to them. Whatever issues that they have to have some options. If there's no option in life, as if we are already reaching the wall, then we can't do anything much. That's why people always think that, oh, to make things easy in my life, might as well I harm myself.
Yep.
This is the kind of thing that, because there's no option, no choice.
Options. Yeah. I like that, Dr. Ismail. I think some people just need other options in life, and the fact that they know there is another option is good enough. Some people have a lot of options. They have very supportive family members, very good friends who are willing to listen to them, or different circles of friends. But some do not have this luxury in life. So if they know there are other options like befrienders coaching, for example, an anonymous line that you can talk to without feeling exposed to your friends or family members, that's a good enough escape, I would say. And that is an option that they would have. Kelly, what are your thoughts on it? How do we address a family member of a friend if you know that there is something, you definitely know there's something wrong with them? How do you even tell them to start seeking treatment?
I think a lot of times we are trying to solve their problem, but essentially that is not the right approach. You know, like no one likes to be told in their face like, hey, you got a problem. You know.
Yep.
So they won't take it the right way. No one will take it the right way, you know. Even if you come and tell me, hey, Kelly, you got a problem. I'm like, what? My problem is you. You are my problem. Get out of my face.
Right. Yeah.
So
right.
I mean, as a person, you know, as a caring person, you know, a friend or a family member, we need to come from a good place. You know, we need to show that we care, and we need to show that, you know, we are the influential one. You know, that if I can help this person, you know, I can do it to help. So from one individual to the next individual. So of course, if we do not have the capacity, then we need the third party to come in, right? Which is like, you know, psychologist or counselor, psychiatrist, right? So you're saying, oh, this person really has a problem, but what kind of problem we don't really know. And a lot of times, you know, in counseling, we like to call it systemic problem. So a lot of times we see on the surface that, okay, the issue seems to be this thing, you know, like, oh, this person is the problem. But it turns out that the factors that are really affecting this person, you know, is systemic. So everyone plays a role actually in contributing to this person's mental health, you know, and it's really hard to change the systemic issues. You know, instead of just saying, oh, you know, this person has a problem, let's send him to the psychiatrist, blah blah blah. But then after that, you know, okay, fine, he got the treatment, but what about his environment? You know, if he's just going to take medication and nothing changes in his life, then yeah, he's just got one extra problem, which is eating the medication on time. So you know, we have to address a lot of issues. It's not a straightforward thing. Yeah. But back to your question on how, I guess it's just being there for them. You know, it's not about you. Like, you don't focus on yourself, like making them feel like they are the problem. You don't accuse them of being a problem. But, you know, come from a good place, you know, bring them out, you know, be caring, be a friend.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think I want to share a little bit about this story on how befrienders started, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like it started off with this priest called Chad Vara. So he counseled a lot of people in church, right?
Mm-hmm.
This back in the UK, back in those days, and a lot of people queue up to see him, to confess and to do all their sharing and things like that. um, but what he realized was a lot of them who came to him, they realized that, oh, actually, when it's their turn to see him, they no longer have that grievance anymore.
Mm.
So he was surprised. So then he went outside and he was wondering what's going on. So actually, while they were queuing to see him, there were other people, that were situated outside his office, and they were just chatting.
Mm.
So through the chats at the corridor, it actually alleviated their grievances. So that's where he thought, oh, then he asked the other people at the corridor, like, what do you guys do? What do you guys talk? And they're like, nothing. We were just chatting, like we are just befriending. So that was
Mm.
how this
Oh.
term came about. So then he set up this thing, which is befrienders, where you just befriend someone, and a lot of times their grievance will just go away,
Mm.
without having to see the priest or
Mm.
any expert or anything. Mm.
Mm.
So yeah.
Wow, that's really good. And sometimes all you need is someone to talk to, someone to
Yes.
listen to you, not to solve your problems, but just as a sounding board, sort of bounce ideas and get some feedback and maybe get some ideas on how you guys are doing things and how am I doing things. So kind of compare stories. Why I'm saying this is there's a question from an anonymous attendee. It says here many startups and young entrepreneurs were very hard hit by COVID-19, obviously, because we're a new business and suddenly this whole thing came about and you have the MCO, so zero income. So they have a tough time trying to balance their savings and also their business income. So many of them are going through stress related issues, but will hesitate going for help, thinking it will soon pass. So thinking, okay, this thing is going to pass, but it's going to go on. And now we have the CMCO, EMCO, whatever MCO. So, how or where can they seek or read up for advice? So, if they don't want to talk to someone or see someone just yet, how do they actually get a bit of help? Kelly, maybe you want to take this up.
In terms of stress management, there are actually a lot of apps now on your
Mm,
phone. You can download it. I have one. It's called Insight Timer. It's really helpful. It's basically a meditation device on
mm,
the palm of your hand, right? So it has all kinds of guided meditation, even yoga, and experts from all over the world. It's free. Well, you can subscribe as well, but you can use the free service. And yeah, I do that every day. I meditate. Initially, I didn't want to because it's so tedious, but you start getting used to it. So maybe you start with 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
mm-hmm,
So it's more like a mental training. So it's like training a muscle. So you feel like your brain is like a muscle. So you train it lah. You train sitting and try not to think. So that actually helps to manage
mm,
stress. Okay. There are other apps as well, which they function as a tool, to basically, well, like a diary or a self-talk device, more
mm,
like you're bouncing ideas at
mm,
yourself. So you're basically your own therapist.
mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
There are some apps here that I can recommend. So there are quite a lot. Okay, there's one here. It's called Thought Diary. Thought Diary, I
Mhm,
like to use it a lot because this is a CBT app. So it tells you all the cognitive distortions that you have. So it's very useful for people who are very analytical, very
mm,
brainy, very not spiritual, but my
mm,
thoughts make me kind of person. Yeah, so then you can rationalize things on your own. So you
mm,
can use that also. There are other apps also. There's one called Super Better. Super Better is created by this app designer. She had a mental health condition, and she's also an app developer. So she created this app to actually help herself, and it's like a game. Like you challenge yourself, which essentially is like, okay, today you need to drink 8 glasses of water. So if you drank your first glass, it will give you like a star or something like that. Yeah. So it's essentially playing with humans. Way of receiving rewards. We love rewards, we love to be gratified, so
Yep.
they're making use of this kind of psychological reinforcement to help us to improve ourselves. So there are a lot of fun
Oh,
apps out there, that
that's
you
really
can
good,
download.
actually. Small rewards or small gratifications sometimes that
Yeah,
just lifts you up a bit, every day.
like, hey, I drank water today, my achievement of the day.
Yeah.
Or,
Um,
oh, I didn't think of a negative thought today, so
yeah.
yeah.
I guess, and sometimes you have to be prompted to do all these things. Sometimes you don't,
Yes,
you know it, but
get
sometimes when you're prompted
it.
and you sort of get rewarded, it gives you a bit more sense to do. How about you, Dr. Ismail? What do you think about this
You see,
question?
what happened now, is a real kind of things that we are facing. Is something which is there, and we can't predict what is going to happen next. You see, as for us, we need to be in control of our life and in control of our mind, in control of our feeling, and in control of our behavior. You see, these three things are linked together. And if our thoughts is negative because of the impact of certain issues in our life, be it COVID, be it business or whatever things that happen in our life, and then how are we going to overcome it? I mean, like say, for example, we lost our job. I say losing his job is a stress on a person. A lot of thinking that they have, a lot of what is going to happen to me, what is going to happen to my family, what is going to happen to, because as a responsible or head of the family, definitely a lot of worries in your mind, and this contribute to the negative thoughts. And once the negative thought comes to us over, I mean, too much in our mind, then the kind of feeling that we have, frustration, anger, sadness, all these kind of things. So it definitely it will translate into our behavior. And our behavior might not be very friendly to people around us. We feel very angry all the time. And then when we do things also, it's not going to make any sense to people, as if that we are lost, have lost our mind. So by understanding this sort of effect on us itself, I think whatever Kelly said just now, we do some kind of relaxation therapy or reward yourself. This is one of the aspects that, to overcome that sort of things. Because what happened around us is a real, is something which we cannot change it. Is coming to us. So the only thing that we need to do is to make ourselves, our body healthier, more resilient to whatever things that come to us. Because if it is going on for over a long period of time, definitely our physiology of our body change. You see, when they have this sort of problem, medication is not the things. You see, and how we cope with our life is very, very important. It's the first line, which is the non-pharmacological actions that we need to do in our life, so that we can do some kind of adjustment or changes in our life, so that we feel comfortable with our life. So once we feel comfortable, then we can think rationally. Once we're able to think rationally, there are options in our life that we can do to help ourselves and to go forward, rather than to sit back and then do nothing, and at the end of the day we fail in our life. That sort of things we try to self-help is very, very important in the first place. And once self-help doesn't work that anymore, sharing with people is another option. Probably some other people have some ideas about it. We may just spark some kind of lights in our mind, so that we can venture into other kind of things in our life, so that we can think of a brighter kind of future in spite of all this kind of disasters that we are going to face now. So I think by taking care of your physical health and mental health is very, very important to overcome these sort of things, so that we don't act irrationally.
So just to sort of clarify, because I'm not really familiar with some of the medical terms. So when it comes to these outside factors affecting your mental health or your physiological health, so it will cause some changes to your physiological
To our
makeup,
body.
right? And because of those changes in your physiological self, it will translate into physical changes in your body. So you may get sick,
Yes.
you may get very lethargic and stuff like
Yes.
that. So in the
Yes.
first place, you need to address that physiological challenge that you're facing. So self-help in terms of meditation, or in terms of talking to people, or just addressing that. Okay.
Yeah, I think to add on, right, the
Yep.
issue with entrepreneurs is because they are very high strung. Like a lot of them, I mean, the characteristic of an entrepreneur, you have to be such, right? I mean, to pick the entrepreneur's path, you tend to enjoy challenges, you tend to, pride yourself with being busy, and always a go-getter kind of personality. So now that the MCO has kicked in, the you can't start, you can't do anything. It's like you have a Ferrari but you can't drive it. So you're parking in the garage and you're like wondering, where am I gonna go? And then you're like burning fuel, you still keeping the engine running, and you're tiring yourself out. You're burning yourself, you're burning fuel, but you're not going anywhere. So that's what's happening to a lot of entrepreneurs. They are complaining that their business is not going anywhere. It's not that it's their fault. It's not their fault. This is what happens, right? Of course, in terms of financial, you have to find other methods but I'm sure entrepreneurs will find a way to make money. But the thing is, it's up here, how do they deal with the monkey brain, like this chattering, oh, you're such a failure, oh, you're this and that, all this negative self-talk. And I think a lot of times the entrepreneurs cannot sit still, they cannot do nothing, which is like how do you say it's almost like a disease, like if they sit still, it's like wow, is there something wrong with me?
Lazy, is it? They're lazy,
Yeah,
you're not doing
exactly. So
anything
they
productive.
they feel bad, or they feel like it's wrong, or they feel like, ooh, why am I not doing anything? So I feel like, maybe instead of feeling that way, instead of feeling that way, pride yourself, with, yeah, I'm taking a break. This is like, a good holiday. Because when, this thing blows over, which I believe it will, right? You're gonna go, full speed ahead, and you might not be able to stop because of all the backlog that you have over the months that you've been resting.
Yeah, I do agree. And that when you said about this monkey brain chattering, that is really, really so real. And that happens a lot to us when it comes to business. Was I not good enough in the past few years? I didn't prepare myself for this. What could have I done? What could I have done to prepare
Better,
myself?
yeah.
I should have done that. I should, like, so it's a lot of self-doubt, during this time. And it's even worse when you have to let go of staff. You have to cut the salary, or you have to do sort of bad things to other people that makes you feel super, super bad about yourself, and you blame yourself for everything that's happening to your staff as well. And I think in the events line, and I think you see the comment from Ronald. He's a fellow PCO. We're a conference organizers, so we're very busy all the time. So suddenly we have nothing to do at home, so he say he will fall sick when we don't have events. When we have events, we're so busy, we don't even have time to fall sick.
Oh, no.
So that's how it is. So it's really real. When you say about this chattering and the meditation, the apps that you mentioned, I think that's really helpful, especially for entrepreneurs. And I hope we answered that question just now. And the next question here is very interesting because it's one of the questions that we also had to discuss. Now, it's from an anonymous attendee. He says that there are alternative treatments being promoted, such as tension and trauma releasing exercises, TRE, or gong treatment. I don't know what is gong treatment. But I personally find that if we don't address the roots of the mental health issue or disorder, exercises or TRE will not be a long-term fix or solution. What are your thoughts? Okay, doctor, maybe you want to start on this one.
Okay, it's very, very interesting, good questions,
Yeah.
very challenging questions that I get asked. You see, if we can think about, say, for example, in our life, so-called as stress that most of the time we talk about stress. Stress can come from within and also come from outside. What we see now, a lot of stresses are coming from outside, and stress can be many forms. I mean, if you're the employer of the company, also something like that, and because the company can diversify, can change the way how they run the company, but you have to limit the number of staff there, and by uh, terminating your staff is you feel guilty about it because you have not to think about that person, not working, many more things that you have to think about. The guilty feeling is something that's stress from outside, and there are people who are having some kind of medical illness or something. That is the stress from within the person's life. So it changes the person's body, that causes a lot of physiological changes in our body. So I think when they're having this sort of problem just now, uh, like say, for example, they do some kind of exercises to relax themselves. I mean, that is to maintain our body stability so that we are in equilibrium. That means our body physical health is in equilibrium, is in a stable state. And at the same time, we have to do something on our thoughts, our mind. That is some form of relaxation exercise or yoga or whatever you name it. It can reduce, or some form of exercise to relax the mind. So once our physical health is in a stable state, our mind is also stable, then we can act rationally. And probably whatever difficulties that it comes in our life, probably we can see the lights, how to adjust ourselves. This is the kind of things that, because there is no specific remedies or some kind of treatment that we need to have, because there are many factors that contribute to this sort of difficulties that we are facing nowadays. And many times that if we tackle one, there are other things which are not being addressed. It can create a lot of issues in our life. So now we have to look into a bigger perspective, whether we can make things in a more stable state, and hopefully our body, when we try to act, also it will act accordingly to the needs that you need to do now. Yeah.
And okay, so the question is, I mean, they have these exercises like TRE or the gong treatment.
Yeah.
Should they do that if they have, sort of a condition already, or should they go treat that condition before doing these exercises, or do it at the same time? So how should someone approach this?
We should be going at the same time, because
Okay.
things is, because we don't know how long are we going to face this sort of problem. You see, what we want is to maintain our stamina so that we can beat that sort of difficulties that we have to go now. Sometimes, trying this sort of relaxation might not help. Our body still fail. So then we require some medication to do that. You see, hoping that the biological part of the body can be stabilized. Because sometimes we get exhausted. We have to fill up something in our body to help us to strengthen our energy. I mean, to have our energy to go through these difficulties. So I think we have to do it together. It's not part by part.
It's I kind of like that we do it together. It's kind of like going for chemo. You go that as a professional help. That means it's killing the cancer cells, but at the same time you also need to strengthen your body, because chemotherapy weakens your body. You get very weak. weak. So you have to replenish it with good food. You have to exercise. You have to take care of yourself so that for the next chemo treatment, you are a bit stronger to withstand it. So I like to see it that way. Kelly, any thoughts on this question? Yep.
I think gong therapy is like some kind of sound therapy, right?
Oh, I've
So
never heard of.
I think it's like an alternative kind of therapy, but I think it's more towards relaxation. Of course, how they explain it is like, sounds, they have like sound waves that, you know, our body responds to the sound wave and then we feel good about it. So it's just how us responding to our sensory perceptions lah, and if it works for the person, yeah, go for it. So these are ways we use to self-soothe and self-care. So if it helps us to alleviate our well-being, yeah, just go for it, so I have no issues with whatever therapy out there lah. Even if they want to see a bomo and they feel like drinking some tonic, after that they're like, whoa, they're energized. Okay, you can try it.
If that works for you, if that rocks your boat.
Right. I mean, it's a placebo effect.
Yeah.
So if the placebo effect works, go
But
for
that's the scary part though. Yes, the placebo effect, if it works, it's great. But sometimes it doesn't work because the problem is real. It's probably a physical problem, maybe a chemical imbalance in your brain or something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So no matter how many times or how good your BOMO is also, it's not going to help you. There's not going to be a placebo effect.
So we know when it is a real issue, right? So if let's say it's just a minor psychological issue, so it's probably a one-off thing, like why am I feeling like this? So maybe I'm tired, so you go and do this therapy thing and then you don't see the symptoms anymore, then okay, so therefore problem solved. But if you keep seeing this bomo and nothing has happened, like you've been seeing for a year without actual medical help, right? So well, your fractured leg is still fractured, right? Or maybe it will somehow it will heal wrongly.
Yeah, correct.
So
I don't think that we should consider also, because you see, the confidence level in ourselves is very, very important here. You see, this level of self-esteem that we have, if you don't maintain that high, then probably you might fall down very fast, because the confidence level and self-esteem itself will also determine our immune system in our body. Then we go down as well if the person is having that sort of problem, say low self-esteem, they're not confident with what they're doing, they're very anxious about it, not sure about things that they would like to do. So if you, to see this sort of so-called as therapy outside, whatever means that you do, whatever mode that you go through, I mean, it is suitable for you, you feel good about it, go ahead. I mean, we have to have multiple kind, because we don't just focus on one. Because one thing, like what you said just now, if you're so convinced to that and then forget about other thing, and then we might lose a lot, because our body composed of multiple kind of factors, So we have to be able to maintain everything in equilibrium. Yeah, all aspects. Like we were talking about the beginning just now, be it physical, mental, as well as social. The three aspects we have, these three components need to be in equilibrium. Yeah.
And I guess maybe some people feel that that is an option for them. And if you say completely, no, that one is wrong, you're cutting off one option and it feels like they are, cornered without any other options for them to seek help. So if that helps them in some way, yes, okay, but also explore other medical help as well. Okay, we're going towards the end of our program. I don't like to go for too long, in fact. But the last one, last question. How do we monitor people in our family or friends without smothering them too much, or without being too invasive into their life, or how do we just sort of keep an eye on them, or if they've had a history of problems, or if not, but you're just worried about them, how do you go about doing that, just monitoring them? Kelly, your thoughts on this?
I don't like the word monitoring. It
Okay.
sounds
So like
very,
CCTV like
yeah,
that.
like controlling behavior. Like, you're part of the problem. So, I believe, like, people, they like self-help. They are the first one to realize when they have an issue. But a lot of times, there are some people who are not aware, right, that they have an issue. So then, of course, those are the people that you need to look out for. But a lot of times, regular people, we are very good at, gauging what is going on. A lot of times we want a mask to like tell you, hey, I'm okay. Like,
Yeah.
don't come and catch me. No, 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 I'm not crazy. So we're more like that, like trying to prove to the world that we're not crazy, rather than the other way around. So a lot of times, the best way, to show support is just to be there, to support them as a friend. You don't need to go a whole psychology on it, like, hey, come, let me be your therapist. Don't do that, it's irritating, right? So just be a friend. Do regular stuff, go for movies, hang out, do fun things together. I recall someone sharing this really great story, and he said that, when he was feeling very down, his brother recognized, his sadness. And so his brother didn't, give him any advice, didn't say anything. The brother just said, hey, come, let's go fishing. And he didn't want it because he was so like, I don't feel like doing anything. The brother just dragged him to go fishing. The brother just brought him out, like, just basically put him in the car. I don't care, you're going fishing with me. So initially he was begrudgingly going, but when he finally went, and he sat, and throughout the entire fishing, you don't talk, the brother did not say a single word. He was just seated there fishing with the brother, and he said he really appreciated that. Like, no words were required, but his brother knew how to help him. And yeah, he felt better after that. So I really like that story a lot.
Okay, yeah, that's good, because sometimes we don't know how to start helping, and sometimes we feel like, should I talk to them, or should I ask questions, or like what you said, just do normal things, going to the movies, because we sometimes think that they don't want to do normal things because they don't feel normal. So, but that's a good advice. So at least we know, we just just do everyday things with them, just force them to do things. Okay, Ismail,
Yeah.
your thoughts on this?
You see, a lot of the time that we have so much of difficulties to talk with our own family, especially the parent and the children themselves. Nowadays, children are very knowledgeable because they can look for any kind of information online, and they feel more comfortable with their peers and not with their parent. And I used to be asked by parents when they are having problems, how to talk to my children. I said, be close with them. I always be close. Sitting in the car is always all the time. We're close. I mean, it's not a physical closeness. What is important here is psychological closeness. You can talk, and then if you want to know whether your children are close to you, you don't have to ask them. They will tell you stories. They're close with you. If, say, for example, you pick up, or even in the house, they don't talk to you as if they don't see you around, but you are seeing them. And they go to their room, and then they go out and take the food and all this kind of thing. You are very close physically, but that is not really true. But emotionally, they are very far. It's a very, very far away. a distance, So I think to help these people who are having problems, we don't have to point to them, you're having problems. Nobody will admit that. I said,
Yeah.
problem. No, I've been seeing patient in the clinic. What is your problem? No, I don't have problem. Then you come to me. I don't know. The people bring me probably having problems. So kind of thing that they have. So I think we need to be close to them and then develop that closeness, psychological closeness or emotional closeness is very, very important. How to develop that? Talking is important. Communication is important. Don't be so judgmental about things. Sometimes young people, they do try and error. Don't comment anything, don't criticize anything. So what we can do is talk with them and guide them. Don't direct them. Young people, they don't like to be directed. Very pushy kind of thing. Have you done this today? Have you done that today? I think they don't like it. They run away. And it's easier to talk to their peers, because peers can talk very well. And then they don't direct each other. They share stories, Even they don't talk, so just sitting around, maybe, don't ask anything, just smile at each other. I think they should know. They will appreciate that, And later on, as you go on, doing it, they will try to open their mouth, and then they'll say something about it, Because, you have to build a trust first, gain a rapport with them first. If you don't have rapport, how to talk? It's nothing to talk. You see, when we ask them, what happened to you today? Nothing. How are you going to explore?
Yeah.
You can't ask anymore, isn't it?
Yeah.
Already. So at least they open up something, Well, I feel fine today. You say hello, so good enough, How are you today? Greet them. I think most of us, they forget about greeting each other in the family because we know that we are staying in the same roof, under the same roof, We just greet other people who are staying in the different. So forget about that. That's why the relationship, the kind of closeness emotionally is very distant among family members. It's different from some people who are always acknowledge each other. They greet each other. How are you today? At least we spend a bit of time, greeting each other. And then by the time we are so, familiar with each other, emotionally supporting each other, I think this is the kind of thing that we want. Things can be done correctly. If we have not done the thing before, do something about it to correct ourselves, especially in this time of stresses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those are very good advice. And I think a lot of families actually face this problem. They don't, especially I think Asian families, the parents don't really feel comfortable talking to the children. And the children also won't want to ask the parents, are you feeling okay? It's kind of like, it's unheard of, in our culture. But yeah, I think
If I may ask, Mona, how frequent do you praise your children?
I don't have children, but my parent,
How frequent do they praise you? If you achieve something, even a small thing also.
my dad, okay lah, got lah, good, but not so often lah. But he's not bad. We talk a lot. We talk about politics. We talk about woodwork. We do carpentry together, and then we talk about he talks about food a lot. So we don't greet each other at home, but he will greet me in the morning. Hey, I made roti canai today. So that's how he greets. So he likes to cook.
It's something like a reward to you.
Yeah, so it's like we talk about so we sort of greet in that sense. So we do talk a lot to each other, but praising not much, but adalah maybe 2-3 times a year maybe.
Yeah, praising is important.
Yeah.
I like, who doesn't like to be praised, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's good.
And I think noticing the small things.
Yeah. Even you see a small things that they achieve, also praise it. Not that big thing only we praise. I think everything that we do.
Like the new haircut, or maybe they gel their hair differently today, or they wore a different colored shirt. Small thing.
You won't even notice I cut my hair, new hair also.
Nobody acknowledge you.
I think to add on to Doctor, I think acceptance is important. Like,
Yes.
yeah, in terms of, how do we help people? The first thing is acceptance. Is
Mm,
basically accepting who they are, whether
mm,
Yes.
they have a disorder or whether they have whatever. It's their idiosyncrasy. You think that I have a disorder, I think you have a disorder. Everyone has a disorder.
All
So,
of us have.
right. So
Yep.
just try and get along.
mm,
Right. Yeah, and the acceptance is very important to just build that emotional bridge.
mm,
Why we stop talking to each other, why I don't want to share anything with you, is because when I bring it up, when I'm trying to tell you how I feel, you completely reject my
mm,
feelings. My
Yeah.
feelings are not valid. What I
mm,
think is not valid, I'm not valid. So essentially you are telling me that I'm not important. So
mm.
Yeah.
shut
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really great. And I like what Dr. Ismail said. There has to be a trust there first. You can't just suddenly expect someone to open up to you when they don't even trust you. So how can they even trust you with their stories, with their self? And that's literally opening themselves up to you. So first you have to build that trust. Okay, we've already hit 1 hour, and I usually try to stop at 1 hour because it's quite tiring for people to sit in front of the laptop and watching you on the screen.
Oh.
Yeah, but for those of you who want to listen back, we have this on YouTube. You can go to the Place Borneo YouTube, and actually all our talks are there. You can watch it for free. And thank you to the speakers, Dr. Ismail, Kelly, for spending your
Telling
time
us.
with us today. And for those of you who, if you have any other questions, you can also directly write into either MHA Sarawak ataupun Befrienders, or you can write into Place Borneo and we can direct the questions to them. If you have any concerns at all, just reach out to any of us. No problems. See you again in the next 2 weeks. We're not busy. We don't have any events. As you know, the CMCO, so nothing's really happening. So in the next 2 weeks, we will have another Tuesday Talk Live. And we'll have a new topic next weekend. So thank you very much to the speakers once again. Okay, so Kelly has
Welcome.
actually posted the phone number. Wait,
Welcome.
hold on, Kelly, you posted to the panelists, so I have to post to everyone.
Oops.
Panelists and attendees. Okay. So we've posted here the number, the phone number, and also the email that you can post to them. And I think Mental Health Association Sarawak, you have the Facebook. The contact details are all there, or the website. So you can contact them as well if you need any kind of assistance. So thank you, speakers, and thank you to all our attendees. Thank you so much for listening
Yep.
in. So that's it.
Welcome.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day
Thank you,
ahead. See
Yeah.
you
Mona.
Have a
guys.
good day.
Have a
Take
good day,
All
care.
right.
See you.
everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Care.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.